Today is time for us to review a flagship EM, an earphone which has one dynamic driver but uses the entire chassis to produce sound. This is not exactly a bone conduction driver, but the dynamic driver, which is 12 millimeters in diameter, is connected to the chassis and using the entire unit to produce the low-end extension. FIR Audio E12 or Electron 12. This is a $1,799 EM or in-ear monitor designed for both those who love the bass and those who love a bit of extra in music. FIR Audio is one of those companies which implements new technologies in their products, and with the Electron 12 we have Swap X or replaceable faceplates for the EM. As I noted in my full written review, just one slight negative to this is that the faceplates can be quite pricey, but you can simply dig in, remove one of the old faceplates and put in a new one. They look quite cool, but they have a bit of a romantic kinda deep meaning to them, while the company also has blue faceplates, which look pretty cool as well. The blue faceplates are more of my cup of tea, and when ordering the E12 you can pick just the default faceplates or you can order more. At this point I'm not sure if the company makes custom faceplates, but this one can be made custom, so there is no reason for them to not make custom faceplates. The faceplates are held in tight by magnets, which can be a good mechanism, but at the same time it always makes me fear that I would scratch them while removing them and replacing them. Now we have one of one color and one of the other color, red and blue. This is something interesting, but usually this is a desirable trait when you look at cats, for example, at pets, or even in anime. This is a cool thing to have one eye of one color and the other of another color. For example, red and blue or brown and blue and such. So we have the blue EM with the rabbit face now and the E12 logo on the right ear shell. The shells are made of aluminum and they are not very heavy, although they aren't very light either. You can feel that there is a good amount of tech inside, you know. They come with one of the best high-end cables that I've seen. So this is a very rigid, very solid cable. It is actually made of aluminum but shielded with copper. The cable tends to transmit a bit of microphonic noise. It has flexible ear guides, so it is very comfortable to use. And the microphonics it transmits are on a low pitched level. So basically they are rumbles, they are not your standard level of microphonics. They aren't those type of microphonics, they are boom, 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 boom. Sound travels through this cable. This is how they sound like. The cable is ended in a 4.4mm balanced connector, but you can order it in any other configuration you may need. And the EMs can be serviced too. So the EMs are held together by screws. They can be opened and you can service any part inside. You can even service the 2-pin connector. So we have 2-pin connectors which are rated for up to 1000 insertions of a cable. Even after you are done with the 2-pin connector, even if it dies, you can simply replace the 2-pin connector. How cool is that? You can have this as a zombie EM that will survive 10 years, 20 years. There is no reason for it to die if it can be serviced. Also, the company is quite old by now, so they have quite a bit of experience. They aren't likely to die anytime soon, so they will be able to provide you with the components and the knowledge needed to service those EMs. We have a ventilation port right next to the 2-pin connector. The company uses a special venting system which allows them to have no void during wear, but as the ventilation system can be quite strong, you have to insert and take the EMs out very slowly to not cause any kind of discomfort and to not cause driver flex. While driver flex cannot damage the drivers of EMs, it is uncomfortable to know that your EMs do this. Like, it's just anxiety inducing, not necessarily something that will damage the driver. So in my full written review I called the E12 the strength of a king. What do I mean by that? This is one of the EMs with the heaviest, lowest reaching bass out there. It can easily touch 20 Hz and present you with that sub and rumble. It can punch, it can reverberate, and it can send the texture of the bass quite accurately. The reason for that is that besides having a large 12mm dynamic driver, the dynamic driver is coupled with the chassis. So they use the entire EM to transmit the sound to your ears. On a side note, I had to replace the default ear tips with DD Hi-Fi ST35 tips. Because the original tips are quite hard, they are not comfortable for me to use and I was unable to get a proper seal with them. So the default ear tips only worked for me in the biggest size, and then the sound became quite a bit scattered because I'm not a big size. So not allowing me to introduce the EMs all the way in, I had to use a different set of tips. The DD Hi-Fi ST35 are not very pricey. They are below $50 if I'm not mistaken, even below $30, and they are made of a softer silicone which allows the bass and the whole bone conduction, EM conduction thing to work more flawlessly. The mid-range of the FIR Audio E12 or Electron 12 is extremely deep, also very well defined and articulated. You can hear every single instrument. They create depth and space between instruments, so the instrument separation is quite good. They have a wide soundstage that extends both in width and depth, and the mid-range is quite transparent too. The sound is also all very cohesive, so there is the same speed for bass, mid-range and the treble. You always get accuracy, but none of the components is really dry or fatiguing. The sound is always detailed and very fun to listen to. You get this really clean sound in the mid-range, but then the treble has most of the energy in the lower treble and the upper treble tends to roll off. This creates the feeling that there is a good strength in music, for example in cymbals, in metal music, in rock music, but at the same time it doesn't create a lot of high-end shimmer and sparkle. It creates a sound that has this studio-like sound. It doesn't extend like you are playing in an open space, it extends like it is playing in a very well-defined studio. This helps with the instrument definition that I mentioned earlier, so you always get this way that the instruments are really well-defined. So those are the drums, this is the guitar, this is the rhythm guitar, this is the violin, this is the voice. You always can understand each instrument as its own entity. The E12 also has a bit of background hissing with sources that have a high output impedance, so that is not background noise. The EM is just sensitive to your source's output impedance. Since I ordered this in the 4.4mm balanced connector, I had the chance of running into these issues even with FIO Q15, because Q15 has a slightly high output impedance. Most of FIR Audio EMs are known for this. They tend to be quite sensitive to background hissing. Another company which has EMs also a bit sensitive to background hissing is FIR. So both the E12 and the FIR Cascara, which I have here, are sensitive to hissing and to the source output impedance. This being said, the Cascara is more sensitive, so it will hiss quite a bit more if the source is hissy. For example, both of them with Q15, I tested both of them at the same time, and the Cascara presented more hissing. The Cascara has like shh, while the E12 has a very faint, and there are EMs that have none. So always look at what the impedance of the EM is. The higher the impedance, the lower is the rate at which you will hear hissing and background noise. With E12, I'm always getting really clean sound. I'm always getting this sound that I can understand. They make lyrics very easy to understand. They make music very easy to understand. And since I do already have a high-end cable in the package, I never felt the need to upgrade the cable of the E12. I also always felt like this is the EM with the best bass that I've heard to date. Even including Rhapsodio Zombie and Ita Perpetua, the E12 has the most voracious, most powerful bass. It's not even a contest. This one doesn't sound like a subwoofer. This sounds like an entire concert club hall. It's so strong and at the same time it is so well defined. There is no distortion in the bass, even at the highest of levels. You can push those to 110 decibels at the ear level and you will still get zero distortion. You will still hear the bass. What's more, they present bass even in songs that don't typically have a lot of bass. For example, in Enter Shikari songs or Alessana, or even in songs from Asking Alexandria, you will get bass. You'll always hear the bass guitar, it will always be clean, and you will always hear every single bass note, every single bass string being hit by the bassist. You will hear that bass. Now, is this something you want to hear? Is this something important to you? Do you want a lot of bass? That is a question you have to ask yourself. How important is bass to you? If bass is important, then the E12 will be your best EM for a really long time. If bass isn't that important, for example, if you are into listening to a voice-centric kind of signature, or a bright signature, or a linear signature, or a neutral signature, which is usually colder and brighter, then the E12 will not be your favorite. But for me, I heard bass this year. It is the first EM of the year that actually touches 20 Hz. I'm a fan of it. I'm a big fan of the E12. This is a fully recommended purchase, and not just that, this is one of the best sounding EMs in the world. They actually have a better bass than the Neon 4 from FIR Audio. They don't have quite the same resolution because Neon 4 has a better extension in the upper treble, but the E12 has just a better bass. The bass is more pleasing, it is fuller, it is stronger, and it is more powerful. In my book, the E12 wins in every single aspect except for the raw resolution. So for its price, $1,799, it actually compares to most of the EMs in the same price point. But when it comes to the bass, there is simply no contest. FIR Audio E12 is a king, and it has the strength of a king. I thank you so much for watching. I hope you are enjoying your time at Audiophile Heaven. I hope you are having fun. I hope you will consider liking this video if you enjoy the content. Subscribe to Audiophile Heaven for more content, and I hope we'll see each other really soon. Bye bye!